Alright, you've seen the title, so let's jump into the video. Now, your stop loss says a lot about you, even without you realizing it. It defines how you view risk and how much risk you can accept in any given situation. Let's jump into what your stop loss says about you. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. I have a free mentorship program. Link will be in the description. Let's jump right into it. Number one is no stop loss. Now, if you don't trade with a stop loss, there are two scenarios that are most likely. You are either a beginner who has never heard of anything about a stop loss, or you are an expert with a lot of experience in trading a specific setup. Now, let's start with the experienced one, because we had a recent example of that. KAMAU took a trade a couple of weeks ago and it went viral. There was a clip where he was down $80,000. Now, eventually he was able to make $500,000 from that trade, and he had no stop loss. Now, to any individual out there who might have the balls to stick to your guns that this trade setup is going to play out even when you are in a very huge amount of money in drawdown. $80,000 is not just any money. So that shows that if you are an expert or you have an experience and you understand your playbook very well, you can trade without a stop loss. Now, would I advise that? No, that's too much for me. The second one is where I fall, and I did this a couple of years ago when I was starting to trade. I never knew what a stop loss was. All I did was just click buy, and then miraculously the trade setup went in my direction. Now, eventually I did lose that money, but it shows that, hey, if you're not using a stop loss, you either have no clue or you have a lot of clues of where the market is headed. Now, there is also a very special case where you might not use a stop loss, and this is the guy who is in a very tight situation where you are in such a huge drawdown that you are paralyzed. You can't be able to close that trade because now it becomes a reality where you've lost that amount of money, and now you have to deal with the emotional consequence of not using a stop loss or violating your rules, or just the fact that you are ignorant about how to trade. Number two is where you have a very large stop loss with a very small take profit. Now, I was once there, and this happened to me when I used to get into a trade. The trade would go back and hit my stop loss, then move back to actually move in my direction. So it starts like a process. The first process is now you increase the stop loss. Now, what this does is that you feel safe that you've given your trade some room to actually play out. Now, when it comes to moving down to your take profit, now that you have this big stop loss, you have a bigger take profit if your risk reward ratio is 1:2. And what usually happens is that the price continues going down but never hits your TP, comes back to your entry or even hits your stop loss. So gradually you start reducing your TP, and you are left in this scenario where you have a very large stop loss and a very small take profit. Now, what this means, in the way I just think, my own opinion, is that you actually don't know your trade setup very well, and you are just trying to get those wins to actually boost your ego or your confidence that the market will eventually work out the way you think it's going to be. Now, that's just my own opinion, and I'm open to criticism. Number 3 is moving your stop loss. Now, this is definitely beginner behavior. So you come to the screen, take a trade, and then as you're watching that trade, price is starting to move towards your stop loss. Now, you can't handle the thought of price hitting your stop loss. So all you do is constantly move your stop loss a bit higher, because you know, okay, this setup might reverse. Now, eventually you get stopped out, and you get stopped out with even a bigger loss, because you have not accepted the risk involved in trading. Anyway, this says that you have not really accepted the risk, and that is something you should be looking towards improving. Number 4 is moving your stops to break even very quickly. Now, this is typically a gambler's behavior, because what I used to do, I used to over leverage, take a very huge position with a very small account, and I know if this price reverses, I will blow my account. So what do? I am sitting at the edge of my chair waiting for price to just move in my direction, so that I can move my stops to break even very quickly and then have a risk-free trade. But in reality, this is just a gambler's behavior, and the reason why this behavior is common is because you have not yet received that blow, because we learn from losses. You've not gotten that huge loss to actually reset your mindset. So before you get that, well, if you don't learn from other people's mistake, you will eventually get slapped in the face by the markets, and you will realize, oh, this is not the way to trade. But otherwise, that is gambler's behavior. Number 5 is a tight stop loss. Now, what I mean by a tight stop loss is a stop loss that you are comfortable with getting stopped. You are not emotionally attached to your stop loss, and this is the best way to trade. And this shows that you are actually an expert, or you understand the markets in terms of risk management and the game in terms of probabilities. Because if you're not emotionally attached to your stop loss, then you're not emotionally attached to your take profit, because you know, if I follow this playbook, if I follow this setup, if I follow the rules, then eventually, trusting the process, the compounding effect of trading will eventually pay you. Now, this is just my own opinion, and I'm open to criticism. So if you think I'm wrong, or if you have any other thoughts about what a stop loss says about a trader, feel free to leave a comment down, and hopefully this was a valuable video for you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.